If a woman says certain things, she's not just emotionally checked out, she's already investing her energy elsewhere. And by the time you notice, the damage might be done. I just need space. At first glance, this phrase might sound harmless, even reasonable. After all, everyone needs alone time, right? But the problem isn't in the words themselves, it's in the timing, the tone, and the context behind them. When a woman suddenly says she needs space, especially after a period of emotional distance, inconsistency, or strange behavior, it's rarely just about needing time to herself. More often than not, it's a smokescreen, a vague, socially acceptable way to put distance between the two of you without having to confront the deeper truth. Her mind, her emotions, and possibly her body are already drifting, or have already drifted towards someone else. This phrase becomes a license to detach without guilt. It gives her emotional cover. It allows her to reframe the narrative. Now you are supposed to respect her needs, honor her boundaries, and be the understanding partner. And if you push back, she'll accuse you of being controlling, insecure, or needy. This flips the power dynamic in the relationship. Suddenly, you're the one chasing, seeking clarity, wondering what you did wrong, while she gets to disappear into her new freedom, which may very well include someone who's been waiting in the wings. Cheating doesn't always start with sex. In many cases, it begins emotionally long, quiet conversations, late-night texts, a growing emotional bond with someone outside the relationship. So when she says she needs space, it's often a soft breakup one that leaves the door open just wide enough for her to explore other options without fully letting go of you. It's a safety net, a way to have someone waiting in case the new thing doesn't work out. It's not closure, it's a contingency plan. The tricky part is, society has conditioned men to respect a woman's emotional requests without question. And yes, boundaries matter, but there's a difference between needing solitude to recharge and creating distance to conceal infidelity. Look at her behavior. Is she suddenly glued to her phone but protective of it? Is she less affectionate? Is she dressing differently, acting more secretive, spending more time away without clear explanations? If these signs line up with her asking for space, then you're not just dealing with someone who needs time, you're dealing with someone who's already mentally exited the relationship. She's preparing a landing pad elsewhere while keeping you in the dark, hoping you'll be the emotionally stable, quietly waiting backup. In her mind, this keeps her hands clean. She didn't cheat, she needed space. But in reality, she's already cheating in the most crucial way. She's investing her attention, affection, and energy into someone else. And when attention shifts, connection fades. What's left behind is confusion, anxiety, and a growing sense that something's off, but she'll make you feel like the crazy one for noticing. This phrase, "I just need space," can be the calm before the storm. It's a warning shot, and if you don't read between the lines, you'll be blindsided when the truth finally comes out. Because by the time she says it, the emotional exit has already happened. You're overreacting. This phrase is one of the most manipulative tools in emotional warfare, and when it comes from a woman who's already cheating, or inching toward it, it's often used to disarm you. It doesn't just dismiss your concern, it questions your sanity. It flips the narrative from, "Is she doing something wrong?" to "Why are you being so sensitive?" It places the spotlight on your reaction rather than her actions, and that's intentional. Because when someone has something to hide, deflection becomes their best defense. Let's be clear, in healthy relationships, partners communicate. They don't shut each other down or minimize emotions. If you notice your woman pulling away, acting different, being secretive with her phone, or suddenly becoming emotionally unavailable, and you bring that up in a calm, curious way, her response should never be your overreacting. That's not a response of someone who wants to fix things or make you feel heard. That's the language of someone who wants you to shut up. It's an attempt to gaslight you, to make you second guess your instincts, because the last thing she wants is for you to keep digging. What you have to understand is this: cheating is rarely an impulsive act. It's premeditated in emotional layers, and those layers have to be protected with denial, secrecy, and emotional manipulation. So when you start asking logical questions, where she's been, why she's texting someone late at night, why she's become emotionally cold, her way out is to flip the script. You're being too paranoid. You're imagining things. You're always looking for problems. This puts you in the defensive role while she maintains her mask. That phrase becomes a shield, one she uses not just to protect her secret, but to maintain power. Because if you start to doubt your gut, she gains more room to maneuver, more time to lie, more opportunity to keep the affair or emotional attachment hidden. It's subtle but effective, and in many cases the damage happens slowly. You become quieter, more hesitant to bring things up. You start thinking, maybe I am overreacting, when deep down your instincts are screaming that something isn't right. And let's not ignore how tone plays into this. She doesn't always say it in anger. Sometimes it comes with a laugh, a smirk, that condescending tone that makes you feel small, like a child being scolded. This isn't just about protecting a lie, it's about weakening your sense of reality. Because once she has you doubting yourself, she can do anything without fear of confrontation. It's also important to recognize that your overreacting is often a phrase used by people who know they've crossed a line. It's not a true reflection of your behavior, it's a distraction, and the more emotionally invested you are, the easier it is to fall into this trap. You want to believe her, you don't want to seem jealous or controlling. But that desire to keep the peace often makes men blind to manipulation, especially when it's served in such a casual, dismissive way. At its core, this phrase is about silencing your truth, about controlling the emotional narrative of the relationship. It's a tactic, not a statement, and if it starts showing up frequently, especially when you bring up valid, specific concerns, it's not just a red flag. It's a neon sign that something's being hidden, and she doesn't want you anywhere near it. We're just friends. Those 3 words might be the most dangerous lie in a relationship because they're cloaked in innocence. They're meant to shut down your suspicion before it even starts. When a woman says, "We're just friends," it's supposed to sound so casual, so harmless, that questioning it makes you look insecure or controlling. But here's the truth. If you have to ask about that friend, chances are your gut already knows something is wrong. And in many cases, the phrase "we're just friends" is used as a shield to protect a connection that has already crossed emotional boundaries, if not physical ones. Friendship in itself isn't a problem. Mature, emotionally intelligent relationships allow space for individual friendships. But when that friendship starts to interfere with your bond, when her behavior starts to shift, when she's laughing harder at his jokes than yours, texting him late at night, hiding their conversations, or lighting up when his name pops up, That's not just a friend. That's someone she's emotionally invested in. That's someone who may be taking your place in her emotional world, piece by piece, moment by moment. What makes this so deceptive is that it creates a moral high ground. She's not admitting to anything. She's not saying she's cheating. She's claiming emotional purity, while giving herself permission to get closer to another man without your consent or involvement. It's the perfect loophole. We're just friends means you're not allowed to question it. You're not supposed to feel threatened, and if you do, you're accused of being possessive, jealous, or insecure. That emotional manipulation makes it nearly impossible for you to voice what you're seeing and feeling without being painted as the bad guy. In reality, emotional affairs often start this way. They don't begin with sex. They begin with long conversations, inside jokes, vulnerable moments, and shared emotional energy that should belong to the relationship, not to an outsider. When she starts turning to him instead of you to vent, when she tells him about her day before she tells you, when she seeks his validation more than yours, that's not just friendship. That's a slow betrayal. And by the time it becomes physical, if it does, it's just the final step in a process that's already been unfolding behind your back. Another thing to watch is how defensive she gets about this friend. If there's truly nothing to hide, there should be no problem with open communication. But if you notice her shutting down, becoming agitated when you bring him up, or guarding her phone and social media activity, then that friendship isn't innocent, it's sacred ground, and she's protecting it for a reason. Often, that reason is because she doesn't want to lose it. Not just because it makes her feel good, but because it represents an emotional escape, a backup plan, or a new beginning. The biggest red flag. When she starts comparing you to him, even subtly, if she starts saying things like, "He listens to me," or "He understands," or "He's just so easy to talk to," she's not just confiding in a friend. She's emotionally idealizing someone else. She's mentally stepping outside the relationship and imagining what it would be like if she were with him instead of you. That's the first step toward betrayal. The fantasy builds, and eventually reality starts to follow. It's not about being paranoid. It's about being perceptive. Emotional cheating is real, and often more damaging than physical infidelity, because it involves the deepest parts of who we are. Our thoughts, our feelings, our vulnerabilities. When she says we're just friends, don't just listen to the words. Watch the behavior. Look at where her energy goes. Look at who she lights up for. Look at where her time is being spent and who she's emotionally bonding with. Because that phrase might be the cover story for something much deeper, much more dangerous already in motion. You deserve better. On the surface, this phrase might sound compassionate, even noble. It paints her as self-aware, as someone who's stepping aside for your own good. But don't be fooled when a woman says you deserve better, especially when it seems to come out of nowhere or during a period of emotional disconnect. What she's really doing is easing her own guilt. She's not lifting you up. She's lowering the burden of her own conscience. It's a quiet confession wrapped in false humility, and in many cases it means she's already cheated, is emotionally involved with someone else, or is preparing to be. This phrase is rarely about you, it's about her. It's her way of saying, I know I'm not being loyal. I know I'm withdrawing. I know I'm doing things behind your back, or about to, but I don't want to face the full weight of that responsibility. So instead, she shifts the narrative. She puts you on a pedestal in a way that makes it sound like she's being considerate, like she's making a noble sacrifice, but in reality, it's a way of avoiding accountability while still moving toward what or who she really wants. It's also a subtle setup. By saying you deserve better, she implies that the relationship's downfall is inevitable, not because of her actions, but because of some supposed shortcoming within herself. But think about the irony. If she truly believed you deserved better, wouldn't she become better? Wouldn't she fight for the relationship? Wouldn't she change the behaviors that are causing damage? Instead, she taps out. She delivers this phrase like a resignation letter, neatly written, emotionally distant, and self-protective. It's not about improving anything. It's about escaping without looking like the villain. And this statement is usually timed. It often comes after you've started noticing changes. She's colder, less affectionate. Her communication becomes minimal. She's emotionally unavailable. You feel like you're in a relationship with a ghost. Then, when you confront her about what's going on, instead of giving you a straight answer or admitting what's changed, she drops the "you deserve better" line as if it closes the case. It's not an answer, it's an evasion. A vague, non-committal exit strategy. What makes this even more manipulative is the emotional confusion it causes. Suddenly, you're questioning everything. Is she being selfless? Am I too much? Is this really for my own good? But behind all of that is usually a deeper reality. She's emotionally investing elsewhere, and rather than owning that betrayal, she wants to part ways without the fallout. Or worse, she wants to create space for another man without losing you completely, just in case things don't work out on the other side. The phrase also carries emotional weight because it plants a seed of doubt in your own mind. Instead of holding her accountable for withdrawing, for being distant, for possibly cheating, you're left wondering whether you're too broken, too difficult, too demanding. It's a clever deflection, a way of dismantling your confidence while maintaining the illusion of moral high ground. And if she continues the relationship even after saying you deserve better, that's an even bigger red flag. It means she wants the perks of having you around, the security, the comfort, the fallback while still emotionally detaching herself. She's preparing for the exit, but she doesn't want to make the first move, so she gives you a subtle push. She wants you to leave so she doesn't have to. And if you do leave, she gets to tell herself and others that she tried, that she gave you an out, that she was being honest. Ultimately, this phrase is about emotional absolution. It's about reducing the weight of betrayal by shifting the focus away from her actions and onto your supposed needs. But don't be deceived by the soft tone or the sentimental delivery. More often than not, you deserve better is not about love, nor is it about your well-being. It's a quiet retreat masked as concern, and it's often the clearest sign that her heart, and possibly her body, has already left the relationship. I don't want to talk about it. This phrase might seem like a simple boundary, a moment of emotional fatigue, or even a request for space during an argument, and sometimes it can be. But when it becomes a pattern, especially in situations where communication used to be open, it signals something much deeper. When a woman repeatedly shuts down conversations that once came naturally, especially about the relationship, her feelings, or her behavior, it's often a sign that she's not just withdrawing emotionally, she's hiding something. And in many cases, what she's hiding is another man, another connection, another emotional investment that she's not ready to admit to. The refusal to talk isn't always silence, it's control. When she says, "I don't want to talk about it," she's not just asking for a pause. She's actively protecting something, that something might be the guilt she feels about emotionally straying. It might be the fear of being exposed, or it might be the internal conflict of knowing she's betraying you while still trying to keep the comfort and security of your relationship intact. She doesn't want a conversation because conversations lead to truth, and the truth might unravel the web she's carefully spinning. This is especially dangerous because it manipulates the emotional power dynamics of the relationship. It forces you into a place of helplessness. You want clarity, you need answers, but you're stonewalled. And the more you try to communicate, the more distant she becomes. You start walking on eggshells, afraid to bring things up because every time you do, you're met with coldness, silence, or irritation. It's not just about avoiding a fight, it's about emotionally freezing you out, so she can live a double life without being held accountable. Over time, this creates a psychological imbalance. You begin to internalize the idea that your concerns aren't valid, that maybe you are the problem for always wanting to talk, that maybe you're too sensitive, too intense, too needy. But in reality, what's happening is a form of emotional gaslighting. She's not avoiding the topic to protect the relationship. She's avoiding it to protect her own secrets. And by controlling the flow of communication, she gets to control the narrative. What makes this tactic so insidious is how subtle it can be. She might still be around, still smiling, still going through the motions, but emotionally she's checked out. She's present in body but absent in spirit. And when you try to reconnect, when you notice the shift and ask, "What's going on with us?" or "Is there something you're not telling me?" the wall goes up. "I don't want to talk about it." And just like that, you're shut out again. But here's the thing, in a healthy relationship, difficult conversations are necessary. Discomfort is part of growth. If someone truly values you, they'll engage, even when it's hard. They'll sit with the tension because the relationship matters enough to work through it. When someone continually avoids those moments, it's not because they're overwhelmed. It's because they're invested somewhere else. They don't want to talk because they've already started giving that emotional energy to someone who listens, someone who makes them feel alive, someone who isn't you. And this refusal to talk often coincides with other changes. She may start hiding her phone, staying out later than usual, becoming more private, more defensive. And if you question any of it, it always circles back to that same phrase, "I don't want to talk about it." It becomes a blanket excuse to avoid vulnerability, truth, and exposure. And in the silence, 1,000 things can happen. The emotional bond between you two deteriorates, the intimacy dies, and the trust erodes, all while she maintains the illusion of being just overwhelmed or going through something personal. At its core, this phrase is not just a refusal to engage, it's a form of emotional distancing, a way to slowly back out of the relationship without having to face the consequences. And while you're left feeling confused, anxious, and emotionally starved, she's already feeding those parts of herself elsewhere. The longer she avoids the conversation, the more comfortable she becomes in her new dynamic. And by the time she finally opens up, if she ever does, it's usually after the damage is done. The betrayal has already taken place, and the silence was the shield that allowed it to happen undetected. If you start hearing these phrases, "We're just friends," "You deserve better," "I don't want to talk about it," or "I need space," don't ignore them. Don't gaslight yourself into believing everything is fine when your gut is screaming otherwise. These aren't just words, they're red flags waving right in front of you. When a woman is emotionally checked out or already cheating, her language changes before her actions become obvious. Pay attention to the patterns. Pay attention to how you feel when you're around her, because the truth is, no one suddenly detaches without reason. And while the words may seem subtle or harmless, they often reveal what her actions haven't yet confirmed. Trust your instincts. Don't chase clarity from someone who's already decided to leave you in the dark. Respect yourself enough to walk away when the signs are too loud to ignore.